Hi, welcome to A Foreigner in the Philippines. Well, the title is I admit, a little misleading on this, but it was motivated by the title, and that is of our friend who calls himself Sleep Alone, and he is having lots of difficulties with the Filipina wife that he has been married to for, let's say, over a year, and he's actually at that point of not caring. And when anybody starts to get to that point where they don't care, in other words, they're going to say things which are in criticism of their partner, and this is when you're saying things which you would have difficulty facing your partner with. So you're speaking against them. So there's a division now which is beyond just being dissatisfied. You're now actually unhappy. And that's the point at which you will justify doing things which are not okay and which are against the marriage or the relationship. Now, our friend Sleep Alone is in a situation where, the heat is relentless today. So his situation is that there is a separation has occurred, and his wife is tending to spend more time at her mum's place with her daughter. Now, there will come a point in almost any relationship that if it gets to that point where there is a willing separation, this doesn't take, you don't have to be a psychology major to be able to work this out. If someone prefers to be away from you than with you, then on a very gradual scale, what I call the thin end of the wedge, this is the wedge, and it goes like this. And it's a wedge shape. Can I draw it? Here. Here's a wedge. See, that's a wedge. Look at it. Starts off thin and it gets thick. And as it gets thicker, you'll spend more time away from each other. And as you spend more time away from each other, you start growing in slightly different ways. It's not rocket science. You think about it. If you were to split in the times, every single person that is watching this has at some point experienced splitting up with someone. A break in communication is the initial thing. Break in communication, a misunderstanding. Misunderstanding left is like a cut that, if left alone and not treated and cleaned and covered, will begin to infect. And as it infects, you have less chance of dealing with that cut because now it's inflamed. And if it's inflamed, it hurts to touch. Look, I did a little injury on my arm here, which you can see. It's a tiny little thing, but initially it didn't respond. I did clean it. I put polysporin on it, and then I covered it with a plaster, and I kept it covered. For some reason, it remained moist, and it didn't heal. So then, going from just a cut that I could clean easily, it went to being slightly infected. Now, it didn't go very far because I actually said to Beth, this is infected, it's not healing. So we did something extreme. We did something to stop the slide from occurring any further, to stop it from going downhill anymore. And that's what you have to do with a relationship. I mean, my relationship with my arm is very important to me, and so I did whatever was needed. I did it, and I stopped it, and now the little thing, it's slightly sore. Yes, it's slightly sore, but it's scabbed over. There's a scab, and underneath the scab, the healing is taking place. So I don't have to be concerned other than to keep this clean and just keep the update on it, the maintenance, okay? Now, if you've allowed a misunderstanding to fester and get infected, then you need to do a little bit more than just put a band-aid on it. It has to be more than that. Now, one of the things that I've done in the past that I found has worked in 99% of the times that I've actually used it. Any time that I've had a bad, what has been a worrying misunderstanding to me, if I let it go for a while and then it starts to get slightly infected, of course. So just like the cut, I have to do something. And what I found that works is to take total responsibility for the upset. So how would you do that? If you don't actually want to confront the person and go over there, if that's not up for you, then you can call them up. Or I guess you could text them. Modern day, when I used to use this, it was not a texting environment. But you actually say to them one way or another, you say, look, I know we have our misunderstanding, and you feel that you're right, and I feel that I'm right, and it's not getting better. Now, if you'll just listen to me for a moment, that holds the talk there and prevents it from sliding into yet another misunderstanding. If you'll just listen to me and let me say something, then maybe we can get over this. I'm sorry that this has happened. I know that you feel that you're right, just the same as I do, and we're both hurting on this. But the friendship is so much more important. My friendship with you is so much more important than being right or wrong, or up or down, or left or right in this disagreement. It's the friendship that I keep coming back to, and I don't want to lose it. Can we move on? Can we leave this as being a mess that maybe someday we'll come back and sort it out? But right now, can we be friends? Now that would depend. And you know, I think I've only had one case out of many where that didn't work, and it was a family member, and it just didn't work. So nothing is infallible, except the Pope, of course. So you need to do something, and sleeping alone doesn't realize how lucky he is. He has a beautiful wife and a beautiful under-teen daughter who is as beautiful as her mom, and apparently is great at school, works hard, is like a perfect daughter. He's forgotten how lucky he is. As I said to him, you are streets ahead of anybody that writes to me asking me, can I find them somebody, male or female? You've got it. And you need to do the repair work. Now, if you've got this situation where there has been a break, you know, I think I'm fairly safe in saying that if you call that person up and say, listen, if we can just get this straight, we'll be fine. You're wrong. Yeah, I don't think that that's going to work. Now, the only person that you can apologize completely for is yourself. This does not mean that you have to do a yes dear, no dear. You can express your sorrow, you can express feeling sorry for the situation, and you can affirm that your love for that person, be it platonic, be it friendly, be it husband or wife, daughter or whatever, you can only do it for yourself. Now, if the other person doesn't respond to that, there will come a point at which you'll have to move on, good, bad or indifferent. What we're trying to focus on with this and with Sleep Alone is the idea that it's not just enough to say sorry. Sometimes the rebuke that follows it, saying, so, look, I'm really sorry, and someone may say, yeah, sure, I heard that before, and maybe they did hear it before. So once you've established that as some kind of a stop in the misunderstanding, now you can move on to doing something positive. And that doing something positive might be as simple as just calling the person and saying, hi, I was just thinking of you, and I'm hoping you're well. And that might be the only thing that can stand. So if they don't say anything, you say, okay, I understand, and you put the phone down, you hang up. And the next day you do the same. When I was in California, I saw this act in a very practical way. I saw it in action in a very practical way, not romantic, just practical. This friend who was a neighbour, turned out when he was on his way past, he used to stop and say hello. That's how I got to know him. And it turned out that he was a carpenter. And at that time in California, getting a job as a carpenter, even a good one, was tough. He told me that he used to go to this site where he wanted to work. He saw that the company was well run, guys were clean and turned out right, the site was clean, all of those things which he felt were very important. And he stopped by and he asked for the foreman, and he went to the foreman and he introduced himself and found out that the foreman's name, Mr. Dave. Okay, so Mr. Dave, I'm a carpenter. I've worked for this company, that company. I've done this kind of work. I'm a finished carpenter. And he gave himself an introduction. This is what I do, and I want to work for you. Now, Mr. Dave said, you know what, John, I would love to help you, and thanks for calling by. Mr. Dave was a nice guy. He said, but I'm actually laying guys off at the moment, so I just can't, I can't hire you. So Mr. John said, thank you, Mr. Dave. I hope you don't mind me coming in. Mr. Dave said, not at all, sir. Thank you for coming. Well, he left it for, I think, one day. And then he went in and he said, hi, Mr. Dave. I'm John, the carpenter. Remember I told you that I work for this guy and that guy and this person and that person, and I'm a firm, and I really want to work for you. And Mr. Dave said, you know, I did tell you that I couldn't hire. So John said, well, okay, but hope you don't mind me coming in. And Mr. Dave said, no, I don't, you know, thank you. Well, the next day he showed up again. Mr. Dave, I'm John, if you remember, and I hope you don't mind, I'm not trying to pester you, but I really want to work for you. So, I don't know how long this went on, but In the end, Mr. Dave began to see something in John that he liked. Persistence. John was all the things that he liked to see in his building site. He had a truck that worked. He had toolkits. He was well presented. He came every day at the same time, and he wanted to work. In the end, Dave said to John, "Look, I don't know why I'm doing this, because I've been laying guys off, but I'm going to give you a job. Okay, it might not be as good as you deserve, but I'll give you a job." And Mr. John said, "That's all I want, sir, is a chance." And then he went in, and he was on time every day, and he stayed a little after time was finished, and he always made sure that Mr. Dave saw him working. And he was always working. He was diligent. He was dependable. Dave could see that this was a man that was worth holding on to. And he did. So if you've got a relationship and it is bogged down in indifference and disbelief and trust, yeah, I know you're saying you're sorry, but I heard all of that before. Now's the time to sweep all of that away and start again. And say, "Mr. Dave, I need a job. I want to work for you. I want you to love me. I want to love you. I want our marriage to work. I'm calling to say hello. How are you? Read this card. It's from me with love, and it's a bunch of flowers. Here's something that I want to give you. Here's something I want to tell you." It's all there for you to say. All the words, they're old, they're well used, they're time and time again. She or he has heard it all before, and now, if they're willing at least to talk to you or listen to you, you're going to get the chance. Take it. Don't abuse it. Establish your trust. Make sure that you maintain your actual reliability, which may have been amiss in the past. That's my suggestion. Sleep alone. If you do those things, let's hope that you will not be addressing yourself as sleep alone the next time that you call. Find something nice to do every day and do it. And it will escalate, it will snowball, and it will work. I'm convinced. Maybe you just need to convince your wife and daughter. So, bye for now. This is A Foreigner in the Philippines.